Because we bought a cheap van, it broke down very fast. And we were in the middle of the night. I was 5 months pregnant, and it's gone. We were like, what's going on? We thought we might be able to fix it in 5 minutes, but the van was totally dead. And as a young child, I used to play along to tape recordings of heartbeat machines from the hospital and make songs up from that, and I used to sing along to records. But when I started busking with other musicians, I became quite frustrated because in order to sing a song, I used to have to rely on somebody to play the guitar, or another instrument that you could carry around that had some kind of chordal structure. So I started learning guitar, and after busking a while, I started going to these songwriting nights in Dublin in a place called the International Bar, a tiny space packed with people, and I used to go every week. I'd write a song and I'd play the new song the next week, and that was very exciting because learning how to play in front of an audience was totally different to busking. Because busking is very free, people don't have to listen if they don't want to. When you're in a room where people are there to see the concert, there's a lot of pressure, and I learned how to control that. And also in the International Bar, as well as busking, there was no microphone, there was no PA, so I was learning how to project my voice, and I used to do that a lot outside in Donegal as well. I used to just walk for miles and sing and try my voice, experiment with my voice, and so I've been doing it really since then. Around the time of the International Bar, a few people started asking me to play supports, and then a magazine called The Event Guide asked me to do a gig. So for the gig, I got a band together, and when I had the band together, that was it. I had no more of me on the acoustic. I really didn't want to do that anymore. Then I got involved with a label, although it wasn't a label at the time. It was a manager who set up a label, and he was American, so I toured America a lot. And then I released Creation, which was, I thought it was an EP, then it started being called a mini album, and other reviews called it an album. That was in 1999, and it was just a reflection of what I was doing with my band at the time. And then in 2002, I recorded Staros, which was my first album as far as I was concerned. But in the meantime, there were a few EPs, like on touring. There was an EP called Can I Sleep Now, and that was in America mostly. Since then, a lot of crazy things happened. Like I fell out with the first label, we don't talk. He owns the first 2 recordings. I don't make any money from them. Well, in my mind, I still have a band called The Husbands, and that's Ivan Berthistle and Peter Cheevers, and they live in Dublin. And because I moved to Berlin, and because it's so much cheaper to tour without a band, that's why we tour as a tour with a band a lot. I used to play gigs in Dublin with a band, or the odd gig in Cork or something with a band, but it was quite hard to bring a band on tour. So because Vyvienne and I were together, it made sense to tour. We bought a van and we started touring, and we found a way to make it a bigger sound, so it's not really like 2 people playing, it's more like a band. But at the same time, it is very much like 2 people playing. I eventually would like to tour with a band, actually, and so would Vyvienne. But in the meantime, I really enjoy the challenge of having 2 people trying to create a diverse sound. That's really challenging. I began touring in Europe maybe 2003. I started in Slovakia, and then, started in Czech Republic, and then went to Slovakia, and little by little I've been doing gigs in France and Italy and Germany and Austria. I go there quite a lot. I haven't been back to Dublin in a while. I released my album there last year, so it's good for a person from Ireland to get out of Ireland, I think.
Why?
Because it's so small. It's really small. It's such a limited market of listenership. I think it's quite mainstream. You know, the mainstream is stuck in with anything a little bit experimental, and it all gets put into the same wash, you know. So it was difficult for somebody like me to be there. But I love Dublin when I can have it in little sizes. It's like a piece of very rich cake or something. It was our first night leaving Germany to go tour Ireland and the UK. We just broke down in the middle of the night. Vyvienne went walking. I was having all these nightmares in my head. It was lashing rain. You know those stories where there's a couple, they break down in the middle of nowhere, and she's in the van and you hear her on the roof, and you're like, whoa, what's that? And there's a mad farmer with your husband's head on a pitchfork. And I was having all those thoughts in my head while he was gone, but he came back half an hour later, and we just had to figure out a way how to get to Ireland. We missed the first boat from France, and we got there just in time for the gig. We got help. We sent out help to Phantom FM, which is a great radio station. They put it out on the news. We got people to donate money, and we rented a van for our tour. In December we went to Italy, and then there was a petrol strike, a fuel strike. We were stuck in Rome, and we couldn't get out. It was crazy. It was like being in a sci-fi film. People were queuing up at the petrol stations. I've never seen anything like it, but you know what? This is what the future probably is going to be. Lulu May is an interesting song for me because I've only ever played it live. I've never released it. People responded really well to it live, and my friend Jimmy Behan, he's an electronic composer, he asked me if he could record me. My friend Jason Hickey, who's an animator, he heard the recording and asked could he make a music video. It's like Jason designed it around my personality, and it's just like a little dream fantasy, and it's up on YouTube. I still haven't released it as on record, Lulu May, but I have to decide what record to put it on, or maybe as a B-side, or I'd love to do vinyl. I'd really love to do vinyl. I'm finding it very easy here. Most of the musicians I've met are not German though, they're English and American. And I've collaborated with a few, and they're mostly rock bands. There's quite a lot of electronic music here, like DJs, and people are very friendly. There seems to be an openness to collaborate, to do gigs together. If you go to a gig any night and you just start talking to the musicians, chances are a month later you'll be doing a gig with those musicians.